Hello everyone, this is Mekkah, and today I am here with a very special guest to talk about a very important problem, and he's got a way to fix it. So, a lot of people want to play Fire Emblem Thracia 776, aka Fire Emblem 5, but the problem is there is currently no good translation patch available. There is one that's called the Shaya patch that has, I think it has the story, but it doesn't really have the best menu translation. And there's also another patch that translates the menus, but it doesn't do a very good job of translating the story. And those two patches cannot be combined. So as a result, you're forced to choose between one of the two, and that really sucks. But thankfully, there's a lot of people out there that wants to fix this problem, and I've got one of them here with me. He is working on a new translation patch, so I'd like to welcome Cirosan to this video. Can you introduce yourself real quick?
Oh, hey there, thank you for having me. I'm Cirosan. I've done a lot of modding for other games, mostly Fallout games. If you've ever heard of the full dialogue interface mod for Fallout 4, that was one of the things I did. And right now, I am the project lead for the latest in a series of attempts to translate Thracia 776, called Project Exile, which is both a script and a menu translation based off of a previous patch attempt that Curb tried to do, and incorporates menu translation by Zane. Currently, the script is done through Chapter 8X, and I should have an update out before FEE3 that translates 9, 10, and 11. But we've run into a bit of a problem.
Yeah,
and
so we need help.
Yeah.
So what help do you need? Go ahead.
Well, let me preface this by saying, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, please don't shut the video off quite yet, because even if you have no idea what any of this means, there's still a way for you to help. So there are three main areas that we need some assistance with. The Holy Grail, number one, is ROM expansion. Basically, the English script takes up a lot more space in the ROM than the Japanese script, and we're running out of space kind of quickly. I'd estimate we can fit in maybe 5 or 6 more chapters before we hit a problem. So specifically, we need someone that can, here's the technical terms coming up, so let your eyes glaze over. We need someone that can expand this ROM is a low ROM that can expand a low ROM into an 8 megabyte patch, just like the Project Naga patch and the Unified Thracia patch, for the purposes of repointing dialogue into those new sections and doing text insertion there.
I followed almost none of that, but I sort of have an idea what you're talking about, and if someone out there is listening and they think, hey, I think I know how to do this, I've done this before, then you should probably keep listening and see what you can do to help. So I guess before we get into the part of where we go, this is what you should do if you think you can help. You should probably elaborate on the other points, because this was the Holy Grail, but you have other things you want to do, right?
Yes, and before I go any further, I would like to clarify, this is not all doom and gloom. Even if I don't get anybody to help me with any of these three things, this patch is still happening. I have ways to work around this. For the memory problem specifically, I would just have to distribute separate patches, and you'd have to use multiple ROMs and keep the same save file, and just after a certain chapter, just use a different ROM. That sounds complicated, but it would be just like swapping discs in a PS1 game.
Ah, man.
It would be just like that. Obviously, I want to avoid that, if at all possible, which is why I'm here signal boosting with Mekkah. But even if we don't find anybody, don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. It's still happening. It'll just be a little jank. Just like Thracia itself, so perhaps that'd be fitting. So the other two areas, these are much less big of a concern than the first one, but the other two areas... Oh, that was my air conditioning kicking on, sorry.
I can't even hear it, so don't worry.
Can't hear it. Okay, good. The other two areas that we need help with is anyone who specializes in creating fonts for Super Nintendo games. Currently, the menu font that we are using, it's a half-width font, which means the letters are all half as big as they would normally be to fit in English words where Japanese words should be. And it's perfectly functional. It's legible. You can read it just fine. But without getting too deep into it, there are some big technical limitations with it that prevent me from saying whatever I want with it, and just it can look a little Spartan sometimes, a little plain. And the Unified Thracia patch and the Project Naga patch pull off sorcery with menu text. So this is definitely possible. It's just utterly beyond me. So that is the second area. And the third and final area, somewhat minor, but the world map image comes up in a little narration between chapters. Do need someone who can edit those images to reflect the new translated names of places on the world map, like Konot to Kanat to comply with Project Naga, and a bunch of other little things. Obviously that one's not as big as the other two, but it would still be nice to have, and if I'm here, why not put that out there?
Okay, so if you're good with Photoshop, you could just change an image to say that without it looking weird. Can you help, or do you need knowledge about like inserting it into the ROM, for example?
I would need knowledge about inserting into the ROM. I can handle, like, text insertion, writing, everything like that. When it gets to image editing within the Super Nintendo.
Okay, yeah. Just make clear this is not about just photoshopping. This is about editing an image in the ROM. Okay, good that we got it established. I think that was the big three that you wanted. There was like other little things. I don't know if we even need to elaborate on those, because I think they were about like side projects. Is that right? Or is there something else that you need for the Thracia patch?
No, that's the big three.
Okay, so then we should probably talk about what should you do if you think you can help, or if you know someone who you think can help.
Yes, and so the best way to contact me is via Discord. I'm sure Mekkah will be able to put some links in the description. There's a server full of people that just exists around this patch that we are using. You can hit me up there. My name on Discord is just Cirosan, so you can find me on there.
I'll put your ID in the description. I guess that probably works best, and people can like private message you. That's pretty easy.
Yeah, anything like that, but Discord is the best way to reach me. And now for the hook. I promised earlier that if you didn't understand any of that, you'd be able to help. And here is the fulfillment of that plot hook. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you think Cirosan, that all sounds like black magic. I'd love to see a translation patch, but I have no idea what any of that means. Can I still help? Yes, you absolutely can, and it's very simple. Spread the word. Just like we're doing here, signal boosting with Mekkah, there are tons of almost like little island communities in the internet of enthusiasts who hack the Super Nintendo and have been doing it for a long time. Some people might even be familiar with some already. Some people might have better luck stumbling across them already. But post this to enthusiast boards, IRC channels, Discords, subreddits. Just don't, bother anybody, but, just politely ask, hey, there's some people making a patch for the one Fire Emblem game that's still not translated. They say what they need in this video. Anybody feel like helping? And I'm sure that out of all the tens of thousands or possibly hundreds of thousands of people that have at one point or are currently participating in Super Nintendo hacking, there's gotta be somebody out there who's crazy and, generous enough to lend us a hand. So if you have no idea what any of that means, spread the word. And who knows, you could end up being the person that helps us make that connection that we need to go the extra distance.
All right, that's actually a very smart idea. I didn't even come up with that, with the fact that I reach Fire Emblem players, but not a whole lot outside of that. So this kind of call is actually very smart, because people will obviously know someone else that might not be into Fire Emblem, but they might be into Super Nintendo hacking. So that's actually very clever. I like that a lot. So lastly, I think it would be nice if you got to get a little bit of a plug in your vision for the patch. What are you hoping to do besides obviously translating the story and the menu, because those are like the main functions, of course, but you might have more ambitious ideas about what you want to do. So what are the other things you're trying to do besides putting in a story and putting in the menu in one patch.
Got you. Well, I should probably elaborate a little bit on my overall translation philosophy. To clarify, I'm not just hacking it, I'm also translating a new script because I have some issues with the ones that's on GameFAQs and Serena's Forest. Not, trying to put the guy down or anything. I would just prefer to do it myself. And I am, my style for this sort of thing is, and here comes some technical terms, the spirit of the text over the letter of the text, meaning I am not a literal translator. I am nowhere close to that. I try to communicate the general sentiment and themes of the text and of scenes of dialogue without necessarily replicating it one-to-one. That means in certain areas, I might take some liberties with what characters say. I might have them say something that they didn't actually say in the Japanese script, if it fits the themes and helps communicate that overall sentiment. I might change a character's voice and manner of speaking to better reflect their history and the inflections that they speak with in the text. I might have an interpretation of a character that kind of informs the way that they speak, that might create some divisions here and there. There'll be people who disagree, obviously, but I am a person who favors the spirit of the text over the letter of the text, and I hope not only to provide just a translation of the story of Thracia 776, but also give it an industry quality localization that feels natural and speaks to all of the themes that the text is trying to get at. And my sincerest wish is that when people play this, they completely forget that they are playing a translation.
That would be awesome. So would you say that the old translation patch is more of a literal translation and your patch is going to be more...
The Shia patch?
Yeah, the original story patch, yeah.
As far as I know, there's no In America, so they might have taken some liberties there.
I think that one is like trying to figure out if the beta testers would catch it. It's very quick. It's very quick. I actually never noticed it when I first played it. But yeah, like take someone like what I noticed when I was playing this for like background footage and just trying it out was, for example, Dagdar, and almost everyone talks pretty normally, like you said before we started calling. Pretty much everyone talks in the same manner. But now Dagdar, I noticed, actually talks with a bit of an, I wouldn't say accent, but he has a very distinct manner of speaking. It's like, this guy could be from the bandits, this guy could be from a rough area where you don't really learn to speak all that properly or something. I assume those are the kinds of things you're referring to when you're saying it's different from the original. This is my interpretation of the character.
Yes, that characters kind of have a different manner of speaking. Obviously there's no voice acting in the game, but how you like transcribe the text and write it. Dagdar, for instance, he talks rough, like you said, in not as we would say, not the king's English, right? Not perfect, properly educated English. A lot of slang, a lot of contractions.
He's not a noble,
Yeah, exactly. Not a noble.
So it makes sense for someone like Dagdar to talk very differently from someone like Leif, who was born into a noble house and raised by a knight, or someone like, I don't know, Miranda, who is also a noble, who was pretty much only ever with nobles. So I feel like that kind of thing makes sense. But there will also be people, and you know this better than anyone probably, and the only person who would know better is probably Book of Halsteady, because he's had to deal with it for ages. People will notice the difference and be like, I don't know how they will phrase it, but they will basically be like, I'm used to this being different. I'm used to this being the way that it was, because the old patch has been around for ages and people have played it, and they also have their kind of interpretation of the character because they've never seen it Japanese, so they have no idea whether that matches or not. But they just have a certain interpretation of the character. I can't really think of a FE5 example of this being very jarring for people, because obviously there hasn't been many competitive patches yet. But one example I can think of, for example, is people used to really like Alm from Gaiden, because the translation patch would have him say something like, "Don't worry, Celica, I'll crush these bastards," which was translated, if I remember correctly, it was translated very, very liberally. Like, that wasn't really what he said in Japanese, but people thought of him as a super badass for saying that. So that's something that stuck with people because of translation patches, and that's going to happen with the Shia patch again. So I really hope that people will, as you said, I don't know if you used the word forgive, but like, I hope people will give this patch a chance, even if it looks different. I remember Book of Holsteady had to deal with a lot of people being like, oh my god, you changed this name, or you changed the way this dialogue looked or something. And that's just, my personal view is, I don't know Japanese. If a new translator comes along and he says this is a better interpretation of the character, and they provide like a pretty good explanation somewhere, or even if they don't, I'm going to take their word for it. I'm going to say, alright, this is a new imagining of the character, or this is a new interpretation of the character. This is fine. I might not, it might be different, it might take some time to get used to, but people took their time out of their lives to translate this game for me, and I'm gonna appreciate it. I'm gonna try to use their names as a thanks for all the hard work, basically. I feel like that's worth it. So for anyone worrying about name changes or mannerism changes, I say just let it go, give the patch a chance, and it'll all be fine in the end. It's just script, you know. You can still enjoy the game even if you have to get used to the name. So yeah, anything to add?
Yeah, just kind of to echo what you said. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I make no claims that this is a perfect script, or even one that's on par with Project Naga. Book of Holsteady is a genius as far as I'm concerned. They put out an industry quality patch that they should be
really did,
very proud of. Yeah, oh yeah, it's amazing. That's how I got into FE4, and here I am.
You and lots of people, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, tons of people. Which is why I'm trying to use as many of the same names from that as possible, unless they've been contradicted by content in Heroes. But regardless, I'm aware that people definitely won't like some of the stuff that's in it. I make no claims that the script is perfect, or that I'm perfect, or even that I'm necessarily competent. At best, I am standing on the shoulders of giants, of all of the people that have come before me, that have donated their time and their expertise to translate these games before, and provide a vision that I can build off of and hopefully contribute to in some small way. So there may well be something in the patch that you don't really like, something in the script that you disagree with or you think is stupid, and I won't really begrudge you for that. You're definitely entitled to think that, and I may have gotten something wrong along the way. But if nothing else, please give it a chance. And if you truly feel, after a long time of thinking about it, that I have got something wrong, tell me. Come to the Discord and tell me. We have tons of channels open. One is specifically for talking about the script. People offer me feedback and critique all the time. I welcome that. So this is by no means a closed council. This is it takes a village to translate a game, and I welcome input. And if I end up disagreeing and something gets in the patch, we had a communication over it, we had proper discourse, we went our own ways, but please give it a chance. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, I think you might want to do this differently, and here's reasons XYZ, and have fun with it. I truly hope that you can play this patch and just forget that it's a fan translation and just enjoy it.
I would hope so too. I think those would be good closing words. We're at around 20 minutes, so this is probably good to end it on. Thank you very much for coming along and doing all this hard work to get Thracia out there to a lot of people. I love the game. It is my favorite Fire Emblem of all of them, so I really want to spread it around to as many people as possible, especially after FE4 has been translated so well. So thank you so much for your hard work, as well as to your entire team, because I've seen a lot of other people work on it too, and they deserve all the credit that for what they've been doing, but especially you for leading the whole thing and taking the brunt of the critique, as you probably will. So thank you very much for your hard work and your modesty, and hopefully a lot of people will be able to help out or find someone who will help out. So
Yes,
thank you.
and thank you for having me. I'm very grateful that I could use you to signal boost. And before we go, I would like to thank everybody on the Discord. Curb, Zane, especially, would not have been possible without them. Crash, playtester extraordinaire, the man's a machine. Will, Sam, for their inexplicably continued friendship. God knows why they still talk to me.
I think I have an idea. I think I might have an idea why.
because they get fan hacks out of it.
Oh yeah, true.
Can you change this in Mega Man Battle Network, Zero? So thank you everyone to the Discord. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to the next update that I'm able to give.
All right, so everyone out there, go spread the word. Ask your friends. Ask anyone who's like into SNES hacking. Look into if you can expand ROMs or edit images or anything you can, because all the help is welcome. Thank you very much, and I'll see you around. Bye.